Hello! In today's video, I will be talking through some of my Christmas 2023 or holidays 2023 gift knitting plans, as well as some of my thoughts on gift knitting to friends and family. Hi, happy day, happy October. Today I'm sitting down to film a video about some of my Christmas 2023 gift knitting plans, as well as some thoughts I have on knitting and gifting to others, because it can definitely be a touchy or controversial subject, given that, a lot of thought is put into a lot of these gifts and it's not always understood or reciprocated. So without further ado, let's get into it. Well, first I want to share I'm wearing my Kalani blouse by Paisley Knits. This was a test knit, so the pattern is not yet out. I'll link Paisley Knits Instagram though. Her name's Coley, so that you can go follow when it is out. And it's in a beautiful all over Irish moss stitch, and I knit mine in 2 strands of the Camarosa Midnut Sole in the colors Elise Beige and Gragron. So it's great. It's got a V-neck, I-cord edging, wonderful. So, all right, let's get into it. So first I wanted to start with a little bit of some of my thoughts on gift knitting. I've heard a lot of others talk about whether they would ever knit something for someone else again. Some people have definitely been scorned in the past by, gifting a beautiful pair of socks or a beautiful hat to a loved one and seeing it destroyed or go missing, or, having sometimes demanding friends or family asking for things. So there's definitely a lot to be wary of in gift knitting, but there's also so much to benefit from. I love giving handmade gifts when I can. It just feels very special for me. I've done it ever since I was a child. If you remember you can get kits for these now, but you can get 2 pieces of felt or like a fleece fabric from Joann's, a craft store, and I would just cut little strips in them and tie these 2 pieces together and gift them to all my grandparents every Christmas. So I have a long tradition of gift knitting, but that's a lot easier to make and a lot cheaper than making someone a sweater or a really nice hat or a really nice pair of socks. So definitely different levels now. So it can be difficult to decide whether you want to make something for someone or, this Christmas season, well, it's October, but thinking about my Christmas gifts was feeling guilty about how, I only have 6 people I'm knitting for Christmas on my list, and there's a lot more people than that in my life. Am I being, a bad niece or a bad friend by not making something for this person? And I really had to be selective with who I would knit for based on a few criteria, which I will share, and really had to keep telling myself it's okay to not make something for everyone in my life, and it's also okay to want to make some things for some people that I know will cherish these items. So I personally am only making small scale gifts, hats, socks, little trinkets for people. I just think that adding in a sweater or a full garment for someone is a huge commitment and is usually a lot more care. You can get away with for hats and socks using superwash with some nylon, so it's a lot easier for someone who is not experienced with taking care of wool garments to still take care of that piece. Whereas for a sweater, I would want to knit that in a nice wool yarn, like a non-superwash wool yarn, which entails a lot more care, so I don't want to gift someone a chore. And it's just a lot of time and effort to go into something that I don't know how it'd be taken care of, and it just brings me a little bit of unease, especially gifting something like that to a non-knitter who may not, may try their best and may love the piece but may not know how to take care of it. So yes, that's the first thing, is I'm only making small scale gifts for people. I also really try to consider when deciding who to knit for, that I don't want something I gift someone to end up being a burden. I mentioned, you know, a nice wool sweater for one person may just be a chore because it's a whole another way of washing something. So I really am intentional about who I am gifting for, and if they will want to take care of a piece I am giving them, if they have the time, energy, care to do so, or if it will end up feeling like more of a burden to them. A great example is let me grab this. I recently knit a little baby hat for a coworker of mine who is expecting soon, and I had a lot of internal debates with myself. I also wanted to make like a sweater for this baby or a blanket or some other garment, but I really realized like they are going to have a newborn. They are not going to want to take care of a garment on top of a baby. So I made a superwash wool hat that can, you know, mostly it won't have to be washed. I nicely washed and blocked it for them, and it can go in the washer, not the dryer, but it can go in the washer if it needs to be. But hats, you know, less often washed piece. So I think that is a good compromise with giving them something thoughtful and handmade without giving them something that they have to keep nice. So that is one thing to consider is, you know, the care of the garment, and if someone is able to. I have some family members that I would love to knit for, but they are quite sensitive to wool and quite sensitive to just other materials, and I don't know all of their sensitivities. They generally, my aunt and uncle almost exclusively wear, you know, cotton t-shirts, like very nice simple fabrics, and I could make something in cotton, but I don't want to gift a cotton garment at Christmas, and, you know, I don't want to gift something that they can't wear because it's causing them problems, and for them to feel guilty about that or not know what to do with this garment that, you know, someone lovingly made for them but they can't use. So I'd rather just not give them anything, or, you know, give them non-knit gifts that I know that they will appreciate, and maybe I'll find something I can make for them in the future, like a tote bag or something. But for this holiday season, just knowing, you know, I really wanted to make them some hats or something, but I don't want to give them something they can't wear. So that's another thing to consider of if they'll wear it. And then the last thing for me is really that, which I kind of alluded to, but I don't want to give someone something that they feel like they have to hold on this pedestal or keep forever, even if they don't want it. I, in my own life, try to be pretty minimalistic about what I keep, and it's always difficult around the holiday season if someone gives you something that you don't totally want. Like do I get rid of this or keep it? Like, it was nice, it was thoughtful of them, but and, you know, I think that can be magnified by 100% or more when it is a gifted or a handmade item that someone put a lot of thought into to give you, you know, make you and then give you. So I don't want to put that burden on someone else. And so when I'm gifting things, I try to be really intentional about, first of all, I try to scope out, like, would they even want something knitted? For instance, one of the people I'll be knitting for is my grandma, and she is a knitter herself. And so I was very thoughtful, but she has a lot of arthritis now. So I was very thoughtful about, okay, what has she made herself and what can she make herself with, you know, larger gauge yarn and all of that. So I don't want to give her something that she, you know, has already made herself or something like that. But I also know she really would love something handmade by me. She, you know, has been giving me things for years, and I think she would really enjoy something handmade from me. And so what do I want to make for her? And I decided a pair of socks because it's a very small gauge, very small project that I'm not sure if she could do that with her hands anymore, and something nice for her to keep from me. So I know that she will really appreciate that, and it will not be a burden for her. Whereas, you know, even my boyfriend, he kind of, I'm not knitting anything for my boyfriend this year. He kind of meets all the criteria of would not take care of it well. He's not the nicest to his clothes, and so wouldn't know how to take care of it well. Granted, we do live together, so I could wash his garments, but still, you know, not wear it to the correct places or all of that kind of stuff. And it could be a burden for him because he doesn't understand the value of a handmade thing. You know, he sees me make these things, but wouldn't fully understand how much time and effort and money I've put into it. And, you know, he lives with me, he sees me every day, he doesn't value the handmade things. So I'm not going to knit for him because he would not appreciate it in the way that my grandma would, who really understands the value, would love something from me specifically as her granddaughter. So, you know, making those decisions as well about who I'll knit for, who will really love this piece. Or, you know, I showed this coworker's hat. I decided to not knit too many things and to just make something inoffensive, like a little hat, because I am just his coworker. Like, I'm not a close friend, not a family member. I don't want to gift this baby something that parents feel like they need to keep forever, memorialize. You know, it's just a hat, so that, you know, they can appreciate it. And it's always nice to have handmade things for a baby. And so they have one nice handmade sweater or handmade hat that they can take some pictures in. But, you know, in the long term, I'm just his coworker. They don't need to feel the need to keep the garment. And so that's part of why as well I made it a smaller scale piece. So I felt like that might have been a little bit rambly about some of my gift knit thoughts. And this is kind of always changing. And I know a lot of people have very strong takes. I'm kind of in the middle about, I try to be really intentional about who I gift and what I gift because it is a lot of effort. But at the end of the day, I do love giving giving people things that I made, especially when I really love someone. I want to make them many things. So one of my friends, actually, I've already made her a couple pairs of socks, and I knit for her pretty often because I know that she will appreciate it. Whereas, you know, my boyfriend, who I live with and I love so much, I've made him one pair of socks in the entire time because he just won't appreciate it the same way. He doesn't love, like, he's also pretty sensitive skin-wise, and so he won't love a sweater. He just won't love it as much. He loves me very much, and he thinks what I do is really cool, but he won't love when I make him as much, and that's fine. So definitely worth considering if and when you decide to knit for other people. And so without further ado, let's get into the 6 garments or accessories I will be making this year for Christmas. And so if you do know me, please stop watching, at least until after Christmas. This is going to show some things that I'm going to talk about some of the things I will be making for the people in my life. So let's get started. First of all, and I actually do not have this with me, but I am making it. I'm currently working on it, is the Cardone tea socks by Emily Weller. So I'll have a picture up on the screen of all of these patterns. This is a free pattern as well, which is really nice. That's another thing I forgot to mention. I really try to use free patterns or patterns I already have, as well as, if I can, stash yarn or more affordable. Like I mentioned, I try to use superwash or more durable yarns as well when I'm knitting for others. So to try to kind of offset some of the cost going into knitting, because I am, you know, devoting a lot of time. I don't also want to devote a ton of money. Otherwise, you know, why am I not just buying things? Because it's a lot easier and honestly a lot cheaper. So a lot of these projects use stash yarn and some of them are free patterns, which I will note. But yes, the Cardone tea socks by Emily Weller, free pattern, and I'm making these for my boyfriend's mom. A couple weeks ago, I was wearing some hand-knit socks at her house, and she was super excited about them. I was like, these are beautiful, that's amazing that you could bake these. And I was saying, oh yeah, I made a pair for your son and he hardly ever wears them. She was like, well, if you made me a pair, I'd wear them all the time. And, you know, she wasn't pressuring me, but she was like, I would really love those. And so I kind of felt like that'd be nice, like if I made a pair for Christmas. And a pair of socks for me takes about a week. And I'm using the Drops Fable in the color 904, which is the lavender print. And so I already had that in stash. The pattern's free. It was like, it's a low lift. Like I really like her. I really love her. So want to make her a pair of socks. And so yeah, I started those already. first gift knit of the season. I'm trying to sprinkle in all of my small gift knits in between knits for myself so I don't lose motivation on either the big garment side or the small gift knit side. So that's my first gift knit of the season. The second thing I will be making this year is the Iris hat by Sari Nordlund. I will be knitting this for my mom, and she is also a knitter, but she hasn't done any in the round projects yet. She still does a lot of We Are Knitters kits. Basically, she's still a beginner knitter, and she definitely does not put as much time into it as I do. So I thought it'd be really nice to make her a hat that is in a smaller gauge and knit in the round with some cool decreases. I really like the way the decreases look on this pattern. So she can enjoy it, and she has a nice hand knit hat that she'll know how to take care of because she is a knitter and works with wool constantly. So she knows how to take care of it, and she will really enjoy it. I have stash yarn in this kind of purpley color that's her favorite color, and so she'll really enjoy the color. She's actually already seen it and kind of knows I'm making her a hat. She doesn't know which one, but I'm very bad at keeping gifts secret, if I'm being honest. So she does know this is something around a hat is coming towards her for Christmas. So yeah, I'm very excited though about this pattern, and I haven't made it before, so I do have to purchase it, but I think that I'll eventually make this pattern for myself as well. It's a really beautiful hat. So yeah, second gift knit. The third thing I will be making is for my dad, and it is the Rhett hat by Megan Boobin or Babin. I can't read my own handwriting, but I'll have it up, and all of the patterns I mentioned as well will be in the description. This is a really nice cabled hat. I'm planning on using the Malabrigo Rios yarn, which is a worsted weight superwash yarn. Again, I try to use things that can go in the washing machine on a cold wash, but can go in the washing machine for gifts. And so I'll get a kind of greenish, lightly variegated color, more tonal green in this yarn for my dad. That's his favorite color, and I really like the cable details on this hat, and I like the brim as well. A lot of more cabled hats don't have brims, so I was glad I could find one, and I think this is just going to be a really nice classic hat. My dad was hard to choose a pattern for because, as I mentioned earlier, my grandma is a knitter and my grandma is my dad's mom. And so he has been given a lot of hand knit things over the years. And so I really had to think about what he would appreciate from me that my grandma wouldn't have made him. And I think she's made him tons of hats, but I don't know if he has a cabled hat. So I'm hoping that this is something he will enjoy as well. And he's my dad, he'll like anything from me, but I definitely also want it to be something he'll like, period. Like, you know, if I got it in the store, he'd also like it. So I think this fits the bill. It's gonna be a really nice kind of masculine hat for him. So yeah. The next thing is the Tied Knots hat by Justina Lorkowska. And this is also a free pattern. It uses DK weight yarn, and it is another cabled hat. And so picture will be here, and I'm making this for my dad's girlfriend. So they've been dating for quite a while, and I try to just knit things for her as well, and I think she'll really enjoy this hat, and they'll look cute together. I might use the same yarn, the Malabrigo Rios. I know the pattern's a DK weight, and this is worsted, but I was looking through the projects, and a few people have used the Malabrigo Rios. I think there's also the Malabrigo Arroyo, which is a DK weight superwash, so I might just use that one. I have to kind of decide for myself if I want it to be a tighter gauge hat or looser. So we'll make that decision in a couple weeks when I am buying all the yarn for these, but one of those two superwash lower priced yarns. I mean, it's still 20 bucks a skein, but $20 for a hat is not horrible compared to, you know, a $30 super hand-dyed skein. So those are those. And then for my grandma, who has been knitting for many, many years, this was definitely a deliberation on what to make. I knew I wanted to make her something, and I decided on the Blooming Lavender socks by Stone Knits. I just think she'll really enjoy these. As I mentioned, you know, she has some arthritis now. I don't know if she can work at the small gauge required for a pair of hand knit socks. She's made a ton of socks in the past, and I know that she really loves hand knit socks. But yeah, don't know if she can make them now, and I think that the color work on them will be really nice for her. She lives out in California and has a lot of land and has grown lavender in the past, and I think these will just be a really nice, sweet gift. And honestly, this is my like highest priority gift knit for the season, because you know, everyone else I'm knitting for, excluding my mom, she knits, but not the same stuff I do. My grandma is, you know, has been knitting for my entire life, and so I feel like I really need to show my best work to my grandma. So I chose a nice color work sock pattern for her, and I have all of the yarn for this already. The main color was stash yarn, and then the other two I just got the Knit Picks, I think it's Stroll, whatever their multicolored or sock yarn is that they have in a million colors. So I just ordered some of that when I was making another Knit Picks order, and so I have that. And the final gift knit of the season for me are the Frog and Toad dolls by Christina Ingrid McGowan. And I mentioned my friend earlier, her name's Leah, and she loves Frog and Toad. I've made her a pair of socks, and she loves knit things for me. And I told her when I first started knitting that I wanted to make her this pattern. You know, I've seen it a lot. It's definitely a very Instagram famous pattern of the Frog and Toad. And I was like, once I'm experienced enough to work at this level of gauge and, you know, do all the DPN work, because they're pretty small and you knit them on a size 1 needle, I'll probably do a size 0, because that's what I do for socks. And so pretty small, tight gauge, and you have to use DPNs and you have to stuff them, which will be an interesting new thing for me. So, you know, I've been knitting for 1.5 years, and I'm finally feeling ready to make these little figurines for her, and I think she'll really enjoy them. She loves Frog and Toad, as I mentioned. She has a Frog and Toad tattoo, so I think it'll be perfect and just like so exciting for her, and not a total surprise because I did tell her, you know, 1 year ago, one day I'm gonna make this pattern for her. So I think it's finally time. And so I'm very excited about my plans for this year. I think that they are ambitious. I mean, 6 knits sprinkled in with I'm still going to be knitting for myself and making some larger scale garments as well. So I'm trying to sprinkle in these 6 knits before the end of December. It's kind of ambitious. There are some people that, you know, I feel maybe I should knit for, but don't know what they'd want, don't know if they'd even like anything, and so maybe next year they'll get a gift. So yeah, I feel good about my final list, and I feel like I'm in a good place about how I'm thinking about gift knitting. You know, you don't have to feel guilty for not knitting for everyone you love or care about. Some people don't want them. Sometimes it's a lot of freaking effort, and you have to decide who would love it the most. Even if, you know, I have other family members that I would love to make something for, but don't know what they'd want. And so maybe next year, if I see at Christmas, they're like, oh, that's beautiful, I really love that. You know, I have a brother, and if he really loves my dad's hat, maybe next year I make him a hat as well. But for this upcoming season, I think this is a good list, realistic for what I could do to keep me enjoying my craft and, you know, show love to the people I love without still gonna give gifts to the other people as well. So I think it's a good balance, and I hope you are able to achieve a good balance with your gift knitting this year as well. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts and plans down below. You know, maybe let's share them on Instagram as well. I know it's kind of hard when you're trying to keep something secret, but you know, if you don't have a lot of friends and family following you on your knitting Instagram like I do, I'd love to see some of your plans or finished objects for what you're going to be gifting this year. So yeah, however you want to, let's just keep this conversation going. I love to hear what other people are making or other people's thoughts on gift knitting. So yeah, well, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you again soon.